Well, I can't sell my BMW or my Super Duty extended cab and go drive a Nissan. I can't stop paying the landscaping crew and cut my own grass. I can't go from using non-Apple products for all of my electronics to just using whatever happens to be cheapest, even though you did do all of those things for many years and you were perfectly fine with it. Now that you're used to the nicer things, it's hard to give them up.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the Financial Pathway Podcast with Nate Skelly, where we discuss important financial questions and give you practical advice to guide you on your financial journey. If you enjoy the podcast, consider subscribing and leaving us a review. You can also follow the Financial Pathway page on Facebook for more helpful financial tips and videos.
Hey, everybody, it's Nate Skelly. Thank you for joining me on the Financial Pathway Podcast. As most of you know, I live in Pensacola, Florida. So one of the nice things about living here is we have an amazing beach, really nice white sand beaches, and the water is a beautiful color. I know I'm rubbing it in, but that is one of the perks of living on the Gulf Coast. So if you've ever been here or really any beach, you may have experienced this. You set yourself up for the day, you go in the water, maybe you've got your boogie board or a snorkel, but you're in the water and you're having a good time. And then you decide after a while it's time to get out, and you look straight ahead expecting to see your towel and your beach chair, but it's not there. And it takes you a second to realize that you've actually drifted like a good 50, 100 feet away from your original spot, and you didn't even realize it. I remember seeing a story. It was really intriguing to me. It was all the way back in 1992. There was a cargo ship traveling from Hong Kong to the west coast of the United States, and it hit some rough weather, and one of the shipping containers fell off the boat, and the shipping container had a huge number of rubber ducks. It was like thousands of rubber ducks, and the shipping container broke. All the rubber ducks spilled out into the ocean, and then they just drifted. And over the years, I'm talking over like 5, 10, 20 years, these rubber ducks washed up on shore all over the world. Australia, west coast of the United States, England, Ireland, east coast of the United States. It was really amazing. It was an accidental experiment, but a great experiment about the currents of the oceans and how you can have thousands of rubber ducks in one place, but then they just scatter and drift over time and end up in very different places. And that's actually kind of what I want to talk about today, is not drifting on the ocean, but financial drift. And it's something that can happen to anyone, and it's usually something that's very hard to detect in the moment. Just like a day at the beach or a rubber duck bobbing up and down in the ocean. It doesn't look like it's going anywhere, but little by little it is drifting. And so what we're talking about today is lifestyle creep, or sometimes people call it lifestyle inflation. And here's the definition. It is the tendency to continue raising your standard of living to the level of your income. I prefer the term lifestyle creep over lifestyle inflation because I think it's a good description of how it happens. It creeps in, it's slow, it's undetected, and it comes in many forms. And so maybe, and maybe not, but maybe you're experiencing lifestyle creep right now. And so how does this play out? How do we see it? Well, it could be that you start eating out more often, less meals at home, more meals out at restaurants. Maybe you start paying for some home services, some housekeeping, some landscaping, things you used to do yourself, but now you have somebody come in and do it for you. Maybe you start taking some nicer vacations each year, or maybe even go so far as to buy a vacation home. Maybe you see you're spending more on clothing or shoes or personal care products. Maybe it's upgrading the vehicle. Maybe it's buying an additional vehicle because you just want to have something that's fun to drive around, or you've got a teenager who's driving now. Maybe you start upgrading the electronics. You want to have the newest phone, the newest computer, the newest watch, the newest smart home gadget. Maybe it's in memberships and subscriptions. It's a gym membership. It's a $10 subscription here, $20 subscription here. It could be home amenities, home improvements, putting in a pool, putting in an entertainment system, getting some new furniture, a new mattress or new sheets. Maybe you start noticing that there's more packages being left at your front door from Amazon or whatever place you might be ordering from. A lot of examples of lifestyle creep. It's usually not one watershed moment, but little by little, you start noticing that you're spending more than you used to. And usually it begins when a sizable gap is created between your income and your expenses. All of a sudden, your income is a good deal more than your expenses. And over time, your spending increases to fill in that gap. So, for example, maybe you're a young professional and you've just landed your first well-paying job. So you're going from shopping at Walmart and eating ramen noodles to all of a sudden, wow, I've got a good salary now. I can afford the house that I wanted to buy. I can drive the car that I've been wanting to drive. I can go on vacation. I can buy the jewelry. I can do the things that I've wanted to do. I can afford them now. And all of a sudden spending starts to increase. Another classic example could be maybe a pre-retirement couple and the teenagers are grown up. Now they're out of the house. And what they found is, oh, our expenses have actually dropped somewhat. We're not paying nearly as much for groceries or for insurance or for gas or for utilities. And so because we have more discretionary income, all of a sudden the spending starts to increase in other areas. And those are just a couple examples. I mean, income can increase for a lot of different reasons. It could be that maybe you've got a side hustle now, a side source of income. Could be that a spouse has gone back to work, so now there's dual income. Could be a promotion, a bonus at work. Could be you started your own business or your career path is really taking off and doing well. And what happens is as the income is increasing, usually the essential items stay the same. Or maybe they raise slightly, but not nearly as much as the income. So your groceries, the food that you actually need on a monthly basis, your utilities, your insurance, your mortgage, rent, gas, those things are staying the same. Maybe they're going up slightly, but the income has gone up much more. So the majority of the increased spending is actually not on the essentials, it's on the non-essential items. It's on eating out more. It's on entertainment, activities, household items, travel. And the danger of lifestyle creep is twofold. Number one, lifestyle creep really crowds your ability to effectively save for long and short-term needs. You need to be putting money away for the future, and really you need to be able to be putting away more money for the future because your standard of living is going up, but it's crowding out your ability to save. But number two, lifestyle creep makes it very difficult to adjust if and when income decreases. So there's an economic downturn and there's maybe layoffs, there's a loss of a job or cutback in hours, retirement can be a big one. And so when all of a sudden income is taken away and adjustments need to be made to the spending, it can become very difficult to adjust to that. Because the luxuries that you were once so excited to be able to afford have now become necessities to you. It's kind of insidious how it works, but you go from being fine with your standard of living to increasing your spending, and then now you're faced with an event that causes you to have to scale back. It brings on this attitude of, I can't go from using non-Apple products for all of my electronics to just using whatever happens to be cheapest. I mean, I can't go from living in a neighborhood that isn't gated and doesn't have a clubhouse and tennis courts to just a regular suburban community, even though you did do all of those things for many years and you were perfectly fine with it. Now that you're used to the nicer things, it's hard to give them up. A lot of times the crisis of lifestyle creep is felt at retirement. That's the point at which a lot of couples realize how far they've drifted financially. They actually haven't seen it until all of a sudden the income changes dramatically. As long as the paycheck was coming in, things were good. We were able to afford our standard of living, buy the things we wanted to buy, no problem. But then you retire, and now the income has been reduced or it at least has limitations. You're on a fixed Social Security paycheck, a fixed pension. And really, the gap there is going to have to be made up with retirement savings. So you're withdrawing from retirement accounts and from savings accounts to meet the gap in your spending. And a lot of times retirees realize very quickly they've got a choice to make here. I either have to lower my standard of living pretty significantly, or if I keep on the same trajectory that I'm at right now, I'm going to spend down my retirement savings well before the point that I will most likely die. And that's a tough decision to make, and that's a tough place to put yourself to make a choice between keep the standard of living that I've been used to for so long or run the risk of running out of money. So lifestyle creep, it can be hard to fight and it can be hard to detect. The problem is that once you've increased your standard of living, you just get used to it. It's like the water in the hot tub, or the freezing cold swimming pool. And when you first get in, it's like, oh, you feel it. But then after a while, once you've been in it, you kind of get used to it. It's not so bad anymore. And you're comfortable where you are. And so now any decrease in your way of life, it's a difficult pill to swallow. On top of that, add to that we live in an age of social media where we constantly find ourselves in comparison mode. It is almost unavoidable. We see other people's posts and everybody else's lives look amazing. Look where they went on vacation, look what outfit they're wearing today, and they just seem to have the perfect relationship, and their house is amazing, and look at the activities that they do. And we feel the need that we've got to keep up in some way. We've got to be able to do the things that other people are doing, or else we can't be happy. And add to that spending money does give a dopamine hit. There's psychologists will tell you that there is a chemical reaction in your brain when you spend money. It feels good. It's a short-term buzz, but the buzz wears off after a while. So you click buy, you get out that credit card and you swipe it, and it's like, wow, it's fun and it's exciting and it's exhilarating, but then it wears off, and then you have to go on to the next purchase to get that same hit again. And for some people, it really can be just as addicting as caffeine or nicotine, or I guess even morphine. I mean, it can get really addicting and become very problematic. And keep in mind that your social media, your search engines, I mean, they're really good at feeding your addiction. Have you noticed that the cookies, the redirected ads, retargeting ads, they're really good at learning what we like and feeding us more of that. So it's, oh, you watch the Great British Baking Show? Well, here's an ad for another reality-based cooking show for you to binge next. You bought a pair of Nikes? Well, here's an ad for 20% off Nike shirts and shorts so you can complete the outfit. And we can very easily get sucked into that pattern of following the next buy, the next purchase, and get stuck in that lifestyle creep mode. So let me give you 5 ways, 5 tools to fight lifestyle creep. And really, I guess the 6th one, if we can call it that, is you have to first of all recognize that it exists. You're not going to be able to fight lifestyle creep until you're even aware that it's happening in your own life. So maybe it's time to just take a step back and evaluate your own spending. Especially if you don't budget, it can be really hard to detect, because there's nothing concrete that says that the lifestyle creep is real in your own life. But first of all, recognize that it is even a problem, it is even happening to you, and then take these 5 steps. Okay, number 1, savings have to come first. Savings comes first. Know what your savings goals are and make them a priority. So you got a 401k? Great, get the match. If you can do more, great, do that. Transfer a certain amount into your savings each month for your vacation, for your next vehicle. Have your emergency fund set up. Do those things first. Know what your short-term savings goals are and what you're going to need long-term in savings, and make sure that your savings rates are where they need to be. And then plan to spend with what is left over, because if you do the reverse, it's never going to work. If you just spend the money you want to spend and then you look and see, is there anything left over this month to save? That's not going to happen very often. So savings come first. Prioritize your savings. Spend with what's left over. Number two, plan to reward yourself. Now, here's the thing. We've talked about entertainment and having fun and activities, and these are not in and of themselves bad things. Okay, you don't have to feel guilty to go out and enjoy a vacation with your family, or to do an activity for a day, or to go watch a ball game, or to whatever you enjoy doing. It's not bad to do that. In fact, you need to do those things from time to time. It's okay to take a trip. It's okay to buy some new clothes. It's okay to to redo the kitchen, but you got to plan it out ahead of time so that you don't overdo it, and you know that it's within your budget. So, and it makes it that much more rewarding, by the way. When you can be clear in the things that you're wanting to be able to do, plan out ahead of time, have a constraint, have an apparatus in which you can do that, then you enjoy it. And then also it comes guilt-free, because you realize, I'm not overextending myself. I'm not being reckless here. I can do this because I've planned for it and it's well within my means. So plan to reward yourself. Plan to do those fun things, but make sure that it's not spontaneous and reactionary, that that you've thought about it ahead of time. Number three, kind of in the same vein here, but budget a fun fund. Maybe you call it a different thing. I say fun fund, but you set money aside each month for the things that you want to enjoy. Include it in your budget, just like you have budgeted for housing and for food and for utilities and insurance. Set money aside for activities that you like to enjoy. I happen to like golf, so I have a line item in our budget that's for activities, and that includes golf. Could be entertainment. You want to go watch a movie or a show. You like to go shopping. You like to eat out. Whatever it happens to be, say, all right, I would like to do these things. Here's how much I think is reasonable to spend in these areas, and I'm going to limit myself. And so I am going to enjoy these things, but I'm going to stay within my budget. Number four, make small incremental changes. The thing is with lifestyle creep is trying to correct it all in one day or in one move is very difficult. It's like a diet. It's like trying to quit smoking cold turkey. People can do it. It's possible to make a radical overnight change, but most people don't handle that level of change very well. I mean, trying to go from shopping at Saks Fifth Avenue to Goodwill is pretty abrupt. That's a tough change. Going from eating dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse to now eating Kraft macaroni and hot dogs every day, that's tough to get used to, right? So instead of trying to change everything overnight and radically, instead I would encourage you to make small incremental changes. Pick one or two areas that you want to change and you start there. Maybe you say, I'm going to go from eating out 3 or 4 times a week to just twice a week. I'm going to go from paying for 5 streaming services to just 2. And in the same way that lifestyle creep sort of happened in your own life incrementally, where it was this purchase over here, and I guess we can go ahead and get that over here, and I can subscribe to this over here. It was just little by little, drips and drops. In the same way, you can reverse that trend little by little and build on those good habits. And then fifth, final tip, final tool for fighting lifestyle creep is don't fall for the peer pressure. If you have family or friends that are pretty well off, this doesn't mean you can't spend time with them. This doesn't mean you have to avoid everybody who makes more money or spends more money than you do. But be careful not to go back into your old habits just because you feel the need to save face in front of others. You don't always have to spend money in order to have a good time. So if you've got real friends, family, they're going to understand and support you in this area. Consider these wise words. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's a great quote. You don't look for happiness by looking horizontally. Because if you just look at what others are doing, you're always going to find a reason to be disappointed. There's always something that somebody else has and is doing that makes your life look pretty dull and disappointing by comparison. Don't get caught in the comparison trap. That's why Paul said in 1 Timothy 6, he said, godliness with contentment is great gain. So you do what you know God has called you to do, and you learn to be content with what he has blessed you with. And that's the key to living a meaningful and fulfilling life. Don't get wrapped up in looking at what other people are doing. Don't fall for the peer pressure. Don't feel like you have to keep up. So there you have it, lifestyle creep. I hope you'll learn to recognize it in your own life, learn to fight it. It can happen to anybody, and it probably happens to all of us at some point in our life. We start to drift, we turn around and say, oh, how did that happen? So take steps, take proactive steps to fight that trend, to reverse that trend in your own finances. Hey, if you didn't catch my interview with Carrie Schmidt, I hope you will go back and listen to that episode 40. Really, really good stuff from Carrie. It's an episode I hope everybody listens to, and it actually ties in well with some of the things that we talked about today. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and I will see you on the next episode.